Obviously in this video, I want to talk about how I stopped wasting money on clothes because I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube about how to create a minimalist wardrobe, how to be a minimalist with clothing, how to create a capsule wardrobe, but that's not really how I personally like to shop. I definitely am not interested in being a minimalist with fashion. I don't want a wardrobe with only 5 pieces in, but in the past couple of years, I've definitely been able to stop wasting money on clothes and be more intentional with how I buy. So these are just basically my tips on how I stopped wasting money on clothing. So I want to get into it with the first tip that I feel like you won't have heard before. This is something that I did 2 years ago, and I did it without even realizing that I was doing it. And it's basically to create a vision for your wardrobe. So a bit like how in your mind when you plan for an outfit, you need to do that with your whole wardrobe. So I suddenly just thought to myself, in a dream world, what would I be wearing day to day? And this is obviously very different to when you go shopping and you find an amazing piece and you fantasize about yourself in that piece. It's very different to that. You need to think of a vision for your wardrobe that you would wear day to day that fits into your lifestyle as it really is sort of in reality. To do this, you only need to be like slightly intentional. So you need to think about what pieces do you actually wear day to day? What pieces really do suit you? What do you feel like yourself in? What's comfortable for you? And also what fits into your lifestyle in terms of your job, in terms of what you're doing day to day, and also kind of how you want to project to the world. And then once you have your vision for your dream wardrobe, obviously the next thing to do is identify the gaps in your current wardrobe and find out which pieces you need to start building this dream vision for your wardrobe. So for me, this was buying things like plain tank tops. Seems really simple, and again, this is not a minimalist fashion video, but I just needed things like plain tops, plain jeans, plain t-shirts, and then I also wanted very specific types of pieces, but for everyone it's obviously going to be different. You're identifying the gaps and you're seeing what pieces you're missing and the pieces that are meaning you keep going shopping and keep impulse buying clothing because you feel like you have nothing to wear, and then you are filling those gaps so that you don't need to go and buy more in the future. You're gonna know what you have, you're gonna know a bit more your personal style in a way, and you're not gonna buy pieces even if you love them because you'll know that that doesn't fit into the vision of your wardrobe. The next thing that you want to do is anything that doesn't fit into this vision of your wardrobe, you may as well just sell on Vinted or Depop or give it to a friend or sell it at a car boot sale. It obviously makes space for the new when you clear out your old pieces, and also it's just nicer because the pieces that you do have you truly love, and it stops you feeling overwhelmed just by the amount of fashion that you've consumed. And by doing this, I've really been able to create a circular wardrobe. And to be honest, now after a couple years when I have stopped wearing a piece or it's just sort of a bit older in my wardrobe, then I just sell it on and it allows me to get a new version of that piece. And this way you can still be a consumer of fashion, you can enjoy buying clothing and getting new pieces, but you are creating a circular wardrobe. And it goes without saying, but obviously in order to do this, and probably I should have mentioned this as the first tip, but in order to create a circular wardrobe, you need to not buy fast fashion. And we all know how bad fast fashion is, and I'm not going to go into how bad it is. We all know, and I think if you're watching this channel you probably don't buy a lot of fast fashion anyway, but obviously if you are wanting to buy pieces with the intention to one day sell them on and create a circular wardrobe, then you want to buy pieces that are good quality, and if you buy fast fashion then it's not good quality. And then probably just another thing that I want to mention on the topic of fast fashion in general, you have to become aware that we are always being marketed to and we live in a consumeristic society. Obviously we all know that, but basically even though all these fast fashion brands are always trying to sell to us, you don't have to succumb to that and you can be a conscious consumer. So the next thing I wanted to mention, and I've already slightly sort of alluded to this one, but you want to stop dressing or you want to stop shopping for your fantasy or dream self. We have this tendency as humans to sort of romanticize a piece, and when you pick up an item of clothing you imagine the scenarios that you would wear it in, you imagine this sort of ideal fantasy dream dream version of yourself wearing the piece in this daydream scenario, and you basically just need to catch yourself when you do start to romanticize pieces and effectively just stop doing it. And you stop doing it by asking yourself, is this truly something that I can see myself now, as I am now, wearing this piece? Does it fit into my lifestyle? Do I feel comfortable in it? Does it go with the other pieces that I have in my wardrobe? Does it fit into the vision that I have created for my dream yet practical wardrobe? And I do think in doing this you can save so much money on clothes because you're not impulse buying fantasy pieces that fundamentally you're never going to wear. So the next tip I wanted to mention is kind of cringe just because of how many times I say pieces on this channel, but it has really helped me stop wasting money on clothes, and it's basically to think of clothes as pieces rather than items of clothing. And again, like I said, kind of cringe because sometimes I think I say pieces way too much on this channel, because sometimes a white t-shirt is just an item of clothing, it's not a piece. But basically in my mind, a piece is something that is better quality, it's something that you've been way more intentional about buying, and also you are building more of a collection and a cohesive wardrobe as a whole. The next tip is, of course, to wash your clothes properly. Something that I heard once that really stuck with me is that imagine washing your hair every single day with like soap. Your hair probably wouldn't look really nice by the end of the week, and you have to think of your clothing in the same way. Really, if you do take care of clothing, it should and can last for many, many years, and if it fits into this dream vision that you have in your wardrobe, who's to say that you even have to buy loads of new clothing in the long term? You could really create a wardrobe that is going to stand the test of time, and then just from time to time buy new, interesting quality pieces that you really love. Again, it kind of goes into what I was saying about if you want to create a circular wardrobe. If you're buying pieces with the intention to sell them on one day, then you obviously want to take care of them because you'll be able to sell them for more. And again, all comes into having a circular wardrobe. So the next tip that I've seen spoken about, and this isn't something that I have done yet, but I saw it in another video that I was watching basically on how to build a timeless wardrobe. So I'll link that video down below if you want to go watch that. But basically they were saying that you want to create a budget for the clothing that you're buying. So that money that you've put aside as your clothing budget, you can see as an investment in yourself in terms of creating this image that you want to project to the world, but also investing in quality pieces that are going to stand the test of time and therefore in the long run stop you wasting money on clothes. Obviously that leads me on to my next tip, which is to shop secondhand thrift pieces. To be honest, I think if you're watching this channel, then you're probably already into shopping secondhand, you probably already go thrifting loads just like I do. But to be honest, I personally think the reason why people love shopping secondhand clothing and thrifting so much is because the actual experience of going to a charity shop or going to a vintage shop or just even an antique shop or just an interesting store, it's kind of a fun experience to dig through the pieces and then find something really interesting. That's kind of the whole fun of it for me, and you can't really say that that's a sustainable way of shopping or a way to save money on clothing. But I do think when it comes to saving money, obviously we all know you can get so many bargains in charity shops. You can also get bargains really on Vinted and Depop. To be honest, where I find my most fashion bargains is definitely on Vinted at the moment. Obviously we all know, but if you want to save money on clothes, try and shop secondhand, try and thrift pieces, always a good way. Then the second to last tip, which I actually think is such a good one, and again, something that I didn't think of until I heard it. I can't remember exactly where I heard this tip, but it's basically to invest in more accessories. So if you feel like you need a bit of a revamp to your wardrobe, a revamp to your style, then don't think you need to go out and buy a new piece of clothing, but instead think about buying new accessories to sort of just revamp your look a bit. And then the final tip that I have on this list in terms of how I stopped wasting money on clothes was I started to borrow and swap my pieces more with friends and family. So if they let you, if they're kind enough to give you their pieces, then this is a great way to obviously get new pieces for free. And again, all about having a circular wardrobe as well. Obviously it's a more sustainable way to shop fashion as well. So that was my last tip, and they were really all the ways that in the past couple years I've really been able to save so much money on clothing, and more than anything I've built a wardrobe that I truly love, and I've really got out of that cycle of over consuming fashion. I don't have a huge pile of clothing that I hate and that I feel like I have nothing to wear. I don't come to an event or just day to day and feel like I hate what I wear. I actually really like my wardrobe, and of course I want to keep adding to it, and it is a constant evolution, and I am never going to be a minimalist with fashion. I want to keep buying fashion and have a big wardrobe, but I have created a cohesive collection of pieces that I truly love. So hopefully you found this useful. Definitely let me know what you think of this video, of these tips, what your tips are for not wasting money on clothing, and until the next one, I hope you have an amazing day. Bye!